Welcome to Nick Saban Jr. Sports Talk TV. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And we about to get into it. Rose Bowl preview and prediction. Number 4 Alabama versus the number 1 Michigan Wolverines. About to take place 4 o'clock January 1st. I'm excited about this game. How y'all feeling about it?
I'm feeling really good about it. I think it's going to be a great game between two really good blue blood programs, Alabama and Michigan. Obviously, these logos are known throughout the entire world, so it's going to have. I think it's going to do some record-shattering numbers on TV. Luckily, I'll be able to witness it in person, but I know it's going to be a great experience on TV as well. Just really looking forward to get out to LA and then eventually Pasadena for not only the Rose Parade, but the game itself. It's going to be a truly iconic college football setting, watching two of the best programs of all time go at it.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama, I'm trying to think the last time Alabama actually played in Pasadena.
It was the national championship game in 2009.
Yeah, because we played Notre Dame in the Rose Bowl, and it was in Dallas in the COVID year. So be good to see a game back there. Obviously, 2009 was one for the ages. It'd be pretty cool if it was the other way around, and this would be the national championship. It was a rematch of Alabama and Texas. But yeah, super pumped for this game. It's been way too long since we last played. Coming off that win against Georgia, great in person. Hopefully we can keep that momentum going into this New Year's Day matchup, start off the New Year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big time game. For us, it's big for Alabama because, man, we've been doubted all season. And it's weird to have an Alabama team doubted. But, the whole season we was doubted. But coming into the season, we was doubted. After the Texas loss, everybody was down on us. After the UCF struggle, USF struggle, they really was down. They counted us out. And it continued on. And we continue to get better. So this is going to be a great game for us. I'm excited for it. But everybody in chat, thank y'all for tuning in. Everybody in chat, thank y'all for tuning in. But let's get into it, man. And I want to start off Jalen Milroe versus J.J. McCarthy. How do y'all see this? How do y'all see them playing out? Who do y'all see favorite in these positions?
Well, I think, J.J. McCarthy, if you just look at it, he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in all of college football. 74% completed his passes. Yards per attempt isn't, obviously great because he's averaging about, 10 yards less than 10 yards really per attempt. Versus guys like, Milroe's averaging a little more over that too, but you see Milroe goes a little more to the deep ball, and they're a little more physical offense than maybe Alabama is. They just play a lot of vintage football. But yeah, McCarthy, obviously really accurate. He doesn't have the best stat line, but also, I mean, he limits turnovers. Only has 4 picks on the year. He's only been sacked 18 times. Miller's been sacked 20 times. So he's got a lot less wear and tear on him. So hopefully Alabama can put him through the ringer, give him some looks he hasn't seen all year, give him some more pressure. But Milroe probably grown as much as any quarterback of the Saban era, but nonetheless college football this year. Starting off against Texas, he played well against Middle Tennessee State, but that Texas game really showed where he needed to improve. But ever since, it's just been a steep increase. I mean, the LSU game was one of the best performances I've seen in person from a quarterback in Tuscaloosa. Just how he went toe-to-toe with Daniels, and then also, being able to beat Georgia, who, was trying to go 3 in a row, win 3 straight national championships, really was in command of that game for the whole time. Had great moments this year, especially 4th and 31. Where I thought he had a really good Iron Bowl, personally. I didn't think he had any problems. He was the first quarterback to not turn the ball over in Jordan Hare since Jake Coker. So that's saying, Jalen Hurts turned it over, Mac Jones turned it over, and Bryce all turned it over in Jordan Hare. And Jalen was able to do that. And he's really limited his turnovers really recently too. So I really think that's a big key. So, I mean, personally, I'd take Milroe just because, how dynamic he is and the potential he has. But McCarthy, he's a safe bet. He's, your game manager type guy. I know the last time sometimes game manager doesn't go well, but really he's run that Michigan offense really well. They're undefeated for a reason, and we'll see how this matchup takes place in 6 days.
All right.
Well, Michigan likes to run the ball a lot more pro style, hand the ball off to Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, let their backs do the work. Where Alabama spreads it out a lot more, not only with running backs, but Jalen Milroe takes a lot of percentage of those carries too. So it's a little bit different running attacks for both teams. Therefore, I think Milroe means more to Alabama because of what he does in both sides of the game and how he affects the defense. Just from is he going to pass it? Is he going to run it? McCarthy for sure can run the ball himself, and I think McCarthy's probably a better passer. And like Josh said, a lot of people say game manager. There's kind of a negative connotation with that, but I think in their own respects, Jalen Milroe and JJ McCarthy have managed games well this year. Jalen Milroe, especially towards the end of the year, like the Iron Bowl is a perfect example. And I don't think Milroe got enough credit in the SEC championship game. It was obvious what he did with his legs, but what was Alabama's offense at the beginning of the year to the middle of the year? It was a shot offense. It was an offense that the ball downfield 40, 50 yards at a time. And what happened in the SEC championship game? Plays like that were taken away by Georgia safeties Malachi Starks and Javon Bullard. I mean, they were able to really take away those type of plays. I only recall one huge deep ball play in that game, and that was Carson Beck connecting with, I think it's Arian Smith, all down the left sideline. So Milroe it was kind of a dink and dunk kind of game, and that's a game almost all the college football analysts will tell you would favor Georgia. Yet Alabama came out with a win because Jalen Milroe was so accurate with the football. He didn't turn it over. He ran the ball well. Alabama ran the ball well. Roydell Williams was an unsung hero in that game. I thought it was his best performance of the season. So, in me personally, I would take Milroe. I think he really, besides Michael Penix, I think Milroe is the best quarterback here in the playoff. The guy I would like to have on my team more than anybody. But you really can't go wrong with either one. McCarthy is the safe pick because not only has he been there and done that, he's been to 2 college football playoffs as a starter. He's obviously started a lot more games in college than Jalen Milroe has, being Milroe's first year as the true starter. So he's your safe bet, probably nationally speaking. But also Nick Saban Jr., I'm sure you're going to want to talk about this, and I'll kind of leave you to this. Who are the guys around these quarterbacks? I was to put my trust in the guys around these quarterbacks, I'm going to go with Alabama because Michigan – really, besides Roman Wilson, they have a lot of unproven guys at receiver and at tight end. They've got 2 great running backs, but Alabama, you've got a plethora of guys in the receiving that can catch the ball, not only at receiver, but at tight end. And then obviously the running backs have gotten continually better as the season's gone on.
And see, I agree. I want to go back to one thing you brought up, Jalen Milroe SEC championship game. And see, he didn't have the eye-popping numbers for a quarterback, but he made plays. He made plays. Yeah. He made plays when it really mattered. He made plays when it counted. Like you say, really can't recall any deep balls, but he made the proper throws needed. He missed some throws, of course, that happens, whatever, but yes, he for me, he looked like a quarterback. He didn't have the numbers, but he did the things to win the game. With JJ McCarthy, we can go back to one of the main things that's being said. The last 4 or 5 games, he hasn't did this and did this. But let's be real, J.J. McCarthy hasn't been in a situation where he had to do it. They've been able to run the offense the way they wanted to run the offense. So, and there's no knock on him. That just shows you how powerful your offense is. That hey, I'm gonna take control of this game. So, J.J. McCarthy. I look at this. The dude got experience in the playoffs. And the one thing that's out there that's kind of scary, when they say 3rd time's a charm, I'm not saying this game will be, but could it be? He's going to have the experience. I expect to see a whole lot more out of J.J. McCarthy. I expect them to use him more in the run game as well, my opinion. I'm expecting if they're running the ball, if we have to allocate extra resources from the back, I'm gonna say watch out for the tight ends for Michigan to get involved. The Roman Wilson dude, he's a pretty good receiver. So Michigan has dudes around him, but I do. I'm a Bama fan, obvious. I do like the dudes around Miro a lot more. Burton, Bond, our running backs, Jace. I like the other receivers as well that we have on our team. I haven't seen anyone basically have to force Michigan to actually have to stretch the ball downfield. And I think our defense provides that, to have to make Michigan do stuff that they're not normally doing. And I don't know if Michigan wide receivers get the separation from our guys. I think if we have to allocate extra resources, I really think our DBs will be comfortable with going man to man.
Yeah, I see this, and I see this as a huge performance, a huge opportunity for a guy who I wasn't, at the beginning of the year, a huge fan of him coming to Alabama, and I know Josh wasn't either. I don't know what happened to Josh, but Tresman Marshall, that's a dude who I gave kind of a little bit of the hate to at the beginning of the year on my podcast, because he kind of just was lost a lot of the times on defense. But he played his best game of the season against Georgia, against his former team. And he comes up big time in the run game on defense. He's really out there a lot on first and second down alongside Deontay Lawson. We know what Michigan likes to do. They like to run the ball with Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum.
Yep.
I see this as a huge opportunity for Tresman Marshall to have a statement game. And then he's going to play a lot more than he typically does. He'll probably play the same amount he did against Georgia. And I like that. I like what he's brought since he's been kind of the second half of the season, since he's been on the field on defense. But you're right. They haven't seen a defense like Alabama. Sure, they've seen Ohio State, and they struggled against Ohio State. But I think Bama's defense is tested. They've been there. They've done that this season. They've heard all the noise. The secondary is locked down. You cannot throw to Kool-Aid Country. Even if Kool-Aid gets on Roman Wilson, you're going to have somebody else step up, because he's going to be on lock. Terry and Arnold has only progressed as the year's gone on. He's basically on an island too at this point. So you're really going to have to find those key matchups up the middle. We've seen Jalen Key getting beat a few times this year. And then Caleb Downs, as great of a player as he is, we all know, an unsung hero on the defense, the leading tackler. He's been great all season, but he has some freshman mistakes sometimes in coverage. It's going to happen. He's a freshman. So force him to make a couple mistakes, or get just matchups where you have linebackers on tight ends or linebackers on running backs. That's their key to success in the passing game. If their run game doesn't work out, I'm not saying I think their run game isn't going to work out, but they're going to have to rely on J.J. McCarthy's arm in this game to win. And just every big game in the postseason that I've seen him play, I mean, we've seen 2 playoff games now, and he's lost both of them. He lost to a TCU team that got absolutely shredded by Georgia in the national championship game because he turned the ball over too much. In these big games, he tends to turn the ball over. And this is an Alabama defense that can force those turnovers very easily with the pass rush and the great secondary. So there's parts of me that see paths to Michigan winning this game, but they're going to have to play their best game under Jim Harbaugh for sure to win it. And I think there's going to be some Michigan turnovers in this game, at least 1, maybe even 2.
And see,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he brought up Tresman. I think it's an interesting thing. I was just looking over their game against Ohio State. They ran a lot of slants, and Tresman's a really good blitzer. He's really good in the run game, but his main deficiency is in coverage. So if they try to get him in a lot of situations where they're running slants across the middle of the field, tight ends are in play. This may not be Tresman's game. This may be more suited to a Jahad Campbell than a Tresman Marshall. And we've also seen how injury prone this linebacker group has been. I think everyone's been hurt at least for a game this season. Tresman's had his injuries. Lawson's had a couple. So there's always ready for someone to step up. Blackshear stepped up earlier in the season. But yeah, I don't know if this is a Tresman game per se. I mean, I didn't think that for times against Georgia either. But he played really well in Georgia, made a big play.
Yeah.
But yeah, if McCarthy and Michigan's offense is going to thrive around the middle of the field, it's going to be real interesting to see how Alabama uses their personnel to counteract that and which linebacker they decide to go with.
And see what you just brought up about Marshall not being the best in coverage. One thing that I look at, if I was Michigan, the way I would tackle them, we'll try to attack. Of course, in the middle, but I would try to get Edwards because Edwards, he's actually a good back coming out of the backfield catching the ball. I would try to get him matched up on linebackers and try to exploit that if I was Michigan.
Yeah, no, that'd be a good when you Alabama's had problems covering the flats over over Nick Saban's tenure. I've looked. There's a few games this year, especially the Texas game that stands out to me. I remember, them sending a running back out to the flat, throwing a quick screen to a receiver or tight end. If they have some of those really versatile and agile guys, Donovan Edwards is certainly one of those. If they just want to get those guys in open space, and so Alabama's going to have to close up that space or make really good open field tackles, which are very hard to do in today's day and age of college football. So you're exactly right. Donovan Edwards is – I like Blake Corum, but I think Donovan Edwards might be their best player on offense just due to what he brings in the running and passing game.
Yeah, man. That dude, he's nice. He's nice. Like Blake Corum, he's good. I'm not taking that away. Dude is good. The numbers are there and everything of a 1,000-yard rusher, but I do like Edwards a lot. But my next thing is, how do you feel how do y'all feel about how do y'all feel about us running the ball against Michigan? Michigan number 2 ranked defense. They defense line, their defense is pretty good, man. Their defense is pretty good.
Yeah, when you talk about defenses we've seen this year, obviously Georgia's up there. Texas has got a good defense as well. I think Michigan will probably be one of the best defenses we'll see this postseason. I expect it to be a really low-scoring game. I don't think either team will score 30 points in this game. And what Michigan really does well is they control the game. So Alabama's really got to be able to sustain drives against this defense because Michigan, I'm looking at highlights right now from their win against Maryland. There's 1 minute left in the second quarter. McCarthy's only thrown 8 passes, but they have 23 points. So they're going to find a way to score. They don't have to use McCarthy to score. They'll find other ways to score. They'll control the time of possession. And Alabama's really got to counteract that. And I like how Alabama looked against Georgia. There wasn't anyone glaring out of the backfield against Georgia like 100 yards or anything like that or anything crazy like we've seen from some games from Jason Roydell. But they really made the 5-yard, 4-yard runs that was able to sustain drives and, keep Alabama's foot on the pedal. Mm-hmm. And Jace, haven't really heard much, because I haven't really been practicing. They've had break off, but now that we're getting into game week and more reports are coming out, we'll see how he is. I like what I've seen at Roydell this year. He's been really dependable. I don't know if we have a fumble out of the backfield this year from a wait a second. But even when Jam's gone in, he's looked good. And I think Justice has looked good as well. Obviously, they have one of the best running backs in the country in Blake Corum. So I would give them a slight edge, not even being a number, but I think Corum's one of the best backs in the country. And obviously our uncertainty of health at the position with our main back and Jace will be an uncertainty. But I like what I've seen out of our guys out of the backfield as well. You guys had Donovan Edwards. But Roydell's had some good made some good plays out of the backfield, but also Jam had that big he's had a couple wheel routes this year where he's broken loose out of the backfield where they've, unaccounted for him. So I really think that's going to be the path to victory for Alabama, sustaining drives like Michigan, making this a very competitive game and not letting Michigan get ahead earlier and really dominate the time of possession. So I think really that's the main thing. I think our defense stacks up well against theirs. It's just how they're going to use runs. Are they going to try to run up the middle like Georgia, which really didn't work for Georgia well? Or are they going to try to run the outside and use a lot of speed, outside zone concepts like in the Iron Bowl? That found success for the Barn.
Well, your question, Nick Saban Jr. is very tricky because there's one person that factors into all of this that you can't really measure, and that's Jalen Milroe. How is he going to be used in the run game? Are there going to be a lot of called runs? How will he do with sacks? Staying in the pocket breaks down, he's going to take off and run. He doesn't see anything downfield. Those are all things that you can't really measure. You can't really predict. I think in terms of running the ball with the running backs, it'll be very similar to the Georgia game, maybe a little bit better. I think Georgia's front is a little bit better than Michigan's front. But Jalen Milroe is the ultimate guy. You just have to you're going to have to figure out ways of making him very uncomfortable and keeping him in the pocket. Because if you can't keep him in the pocket and the pocket breaks down and he escapes left or right, it's trouble. Very trouble. He's very slippery. He's almost just a bigger I wouldn't say Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson is so shifty, but Milroe can put that left shoulder down and just go right over you too.
Yeah.
So he is the ultimate guy just counteracting part of the run game for Alabama that you really can't measure. You don't know. And I think that helps Alabama a lot because they can use him they could script him ways of getting involved in the run game, or he can just do it on his own. So I think Alabama is going to be just fine in the run department. And it's not that I'm not humble about this game. I respect him, a ton, but I've just been very confident about Alabama at this point in the season. I think everyone kind of knows how good they've been, but I still think they can be better, and I think that they will continue to do that. And I don't want to make a prediction yet because I know we'll do that later. But
Yeah.
I'm very confident about this game, and I'm very confident Alabama can control the game.
Yeah, and one more thing on Corum, he's a guy that really runs 10 to 20 times a game, and I haven't really looked at his, each game log, but he only has, I think, 2 games with over 100. He scored a touchdown in every single game this year.
Yeah.
So they're going to find a way for him to get his. Only had 52 yards rushing against Iowa, but had 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns against Ohio State, 2 touchdowns against Maryland, 2 touchdowns against Penn State, where he was really good against Penn State with 145 yards. But even Purdue, he only had 44 yards on 15 carries, but had 3 touchdowns. So,
Yeah.
And that's really a big challenge. Arguably got the best offensive line in the country. I mean, we've done that for a couple of years now, obviously. And it'll be interesting we can start here with offensive line, but I think Michigan's got a clear advantage there. But I like where Alabama's improving. And I think really Alabama's biggest advantage with the run game and all the overall offense as a whole is the camaraderie and the buy-in to the message and the commitment to improve over the season with all the adversity they face. There hasn't been mental errors with Proctor. Booker's been locked down. Roberts has really reignited that line. So I think Alabama's line's mentality will be the biggest thing, going to the trenches against that Michigan defense.
Yeah. See, what I look at, I go back to the SEC game again. We dominated on the line of scrimmage on the offensive line, but the run really didn't show much from it. We had good run plays. We did good things, but I looked at that. Then I look at Michigan. They're good at getting off the field. They're good at getting off the field, keeping on teams and like midfield, making them punt the ball. They're good at that. But let's go back to what you were saying about the defensive line. You think Georgia's defensive line is a little bit better than Michigan? I guess the other fan base, I know they'll probably have something to say about it too. I didn't think Georgia's defensive line was that good this year anyway, but I still think it was a tad bit better than what Michigan provides or whatever. So I'm interested in the run game in this game because I know this is going to be a big play, big thing. Think about the offense that I have seen. We kind of be inconsistent at times. Can we put the drives downfield to put pressure on the Michigan defense and make them, when they get back on offense, put pressure back on them to make them do something different? So that's why I'm asking about the run game, because I know it's going to be a key factor into this game is running the ball. And I think this is the game we can actually run the ball on, run the ball well. Alabama, we haven't played our best game yet. That's got to be the scariest thing about this thing. I don't think we have played our best game yet, and I think it's
not only that, but you're giving Nick Saban 3 weeks to prepare for a game.
3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks to prepare.
Still haven't played the best game of the season yet, and there was still a lot of stuff to work on from the SEC championship game. And he still got a point to prove, and he's still pissed off. Yeah, it's not a good formula for anyone.
Hasn't lost in a semifinal game since the first college football playoff either. So, Saban with a month of preparation is a different breed.
And I think this team, where they are mentality speaking, and where that 2014 team was, is completely different ballpark. I mean, you might as well say completely different country, because we all know that 2014 team had some problems in the locker room going into that season. So, I think this team, in terms of a mentality, this is the strongest mentality team mentally team that Saban's ever had. That's just my opinion, and he's kind of said that all season too.
I want to ask you guys something along those lines. I mean, I saw this floating around Twitter. Where would if this team was able to pull it out, where would you rank it among the all-time Saban national championship teams? Like, how good would this group feel to win it all?
How would they stack up against other teams on the field, or just in?
Like just as far as pure enjoyment, like the whole season.
This is number one for me. It's got to be number one. To start off on such a low like that, to have so many questions on your roster, to have so many likable players. Like, I mean, Milroe's very likable. Terrion Arnold, I mean, we've seen the whole Alabama Crimson Tide fan base loves him and his relationship with Miss Terry. I mean, there's Dallas Turner, Tyler Booker. There's so many guys on this team that are just pretty wholesome guys that everyone likes.
Yeah.
And it's Josh. It starts with how bad. I mean, not bad. I mean, this is not a bad team at the beginning of the year, but in terms of Alabama standards, they were. I mean, you had some people questioning, is Nick Saban done after the second game of the season? I mean, that never happens. I can't think of another time that's happened.
So it's every time Alabama loses. Actually, to be fair, Paul Feinbaum starts it every time.
Okay, but in the magnitude that it was at the beginning of this year, it's really unreal. If you would have told me after the USF game, which was worse to me than Texas, that Alabama would be in the playoff, I would have said you were crazy. So, just that itself, this would be the most enjoyable. If we win the national championship this season, especially our last year as a student, it would be the most enjoyable, I think, of any of them so far. How about you?
I gotta agree with that, man. I gotta agree with that. Cause I'm trying to think back, but far as how far this team has come, all the adversity they have faced, relying on each other, trusting each other to get through the season, understanding after the first 3 games what was at stake, and everybody getting on board. I said this after the Tennessee game. The players that I seen on the sideline that's not even playing, when they look happy to be at Bama, I was like, when I seen that after the Tennessee game, I said, I thought we on now. Because the players that not even playing, getting playing time, they was happy to be there. You don't see any pouting on the sideline. You don't see people sitting on the bench with towels on their head, just sitting there drinking. Like, everybody is locked in. And the stuff, let's talk about Terrion Arnold and Jalen Milroe. What they just did for the team, everybody's on the same page right now. So for Coach Saban, I know this has to be his favorite team if they can pull this thing out. This has to be one of the favorite teams. I know in my book, this has to be my favorite team. And we don't have some teams.
Before we move on to the next position, I think one thing we could do we could start with quarterbacks and get back to running backs. Yeah. Among the 4 teams in the playoff, how would you rank for the starting running backs? And quarterbacks, how would you rank them?
Let me
start with quarterbacks.
Let me say one more thing that I forgot to say. And Josh, I want your take on the question you posed too before we do that. But and Josh knows my favorite player of all time in Alabama history is Jalen Hurts. What he did when he went through after going 26-2 as a starter, getting benched, still having the right mindset, and then getting another opportunity in the SEC championship game in 2018. I mean, that's the stuff of a legend, you know. My favorite, and then obviously I'm a Cowboys fan. Jalen Hurts is on the Eagles. That sucks for me that I pull against him. But if Jalen Milroe wins the national championship, he seriously might pass Jalen Hurts, because there were so many people talking so much crap about him at the beginning of the year, and he's to get to the point now. Go ahead.
You bought into him too. You were all in on him.
I was all in before the season started. Yeah. Both of us were. Yep. Both of us. You weren't, Josh, but
I'll put my hands up. I know.
I believed since last year. I was saying after the Texas A&M game, you guys got to give this dude a shot. He is going to be a dog. I mean, I said he's going to be a dog, and it happened. All I'm saying.
Hey, I filled out the apology form.
Listen to me, Josh, about basketball things.
I filled out the apology form.
Huh?
I filled out the apology form.
He did. Josh filled out an apology form. And said,
Hey, but I want to add on what you said about me, Hurts. And this is what I had said to my buddies off camera. I said the Hurts that went through the getting benched and transferring, that Hurts, I believe we got this Jalen Milroe early. Like, he went through that early, So we're able to get that back end Jalen Hurts, but in Miro. I believe that's the Miro we're getting right now.
Yeah, but I mean, to add it on, I know a lot of people believed in Milroe to start the season, but some of the stuff, if you told them that at the beginning of the season, some of the stuff Milroe had done, I don't think some people would believe it. I don't know if Jalen would believe it. Just how much he's grown. I think it's to a level no one can really comprehend. But I'll start off with the ranking. For quarterbacks, I think Penix is probably the best quarterback in the playoff. Then I'll go Milroe. Then I'll go Ewers. Then I'll go McCarthy. I think McCarthy's very good, but I just think, those other three guys are arguably future first-round draft picks. I don't think I wouldn't have McCarthy as a first-round pick, in my personal opinion. I think he's probably a second or third-round guy.
It's the same ranking for me. Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
No, same thing. Michael Penix. I have shows that I did on Bam Damn Sports. If y'all ain't subscribed to Bam Damn Sports, go subscribe. But I was big on Penix after last season.
I thought we might get him when we were looking at Grubb. I was like, he possibly going to be our quarterback this year. When we were looking at Grubb before we got Reese, I was like, I'd take Penix.
Yeah, I was telling people about Penix last season. After the season, I said he had Heisman finalist numbers last season, but he didn't even get the invite. And people thought I was crazy. I said, no, go look it up. So when the season kicked back up, one of the guys I worked with, I was telling him he was talking about Michael Penix. I said, hey, he was because he gambles a lot. I said, hey, if I were you, I would lock it in. I'll lock it right now. But he didn't win it. But he was just amazed that I was on that type of time with Michael Penix then. Miro, I gotta give it to Miro number 2 because so many things he can do. He has progressed as a passer. We know he's dangerous with his feet, so therefore it's hard to prepare for him. Ewers clean in the pocket. If he's standing there all day, he gonna pick you apart. He can do it all day. And JJ McCarthy, just because he hasn't having to prove all the different things he can do this year. But
all the other guys of the team's offense, all the others' offense really revolves around them. I think out of the three, McCarthy's probably the most replaceable, but he is a very good quarterback.
Yes, exactly.
And I want to say this about Penix. I was all over the Michael Penix train in 2020. In that COVID year, that he had a really good season at Indiana. I remember vividly freshman year watching games in my dorm room and watching him outstretch his arm against Penn State to hit the pylon, give Indiana the win over Penn State. I think Indiana, they would have went to the Big Ten championship that year if Ohio State wasn't as good as they were. Tom Allen, Indiana was great that year, and I kind of followed Michael Penix after that.
And listen, people don't realize Michael Penix just stayed hurt a lot in Indiana, man.
Yeah, he did.
That was the problem. He stayed hurt a lot.
Two ACLs.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and he stuck with it, and you can tell he can throw the ball all over the yard, and that's why I really think Washington's going to beat Texas because of how good Washington's offense is. I believe Washington's going to beat Texas because Texas has the 92nd ranked pass defense in the country. Yes. Washington may be the best passing offense. I think it's really that's the biggest mismatch in the college football playoff. I think it's a close game because I really do believe Texas has. I mean, they've got some of the best. They probably have the best offense, weaponry in terms of that's in the playoff. I mean, I like A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy and all those guys, but to me, it's just so different when you've got a guy who's so confident back there like Michael Penix throwing the ball around against a bad defensive backfield. And then not even mention that Washington's been doubted all season, and they've been tested and doubted. They've been in these one-score games all season. They've come out as the victors every time, and I think they do it again. I think it's another close game, but I think Washington's going to pull it out. I love Kalen DeBoer. I think he's one of the guys you're going to have to watch out. Yes, he can coach at Washington for a long time, but surely there's got to be another job.
Yeah,
that opens up that's bigger.
They have no 5-stars on their roster.
Yeah,
there's a graphic. It was like Alabama has 19, Michigan has like
2.
I think maybe 2. Texas may have like 5 or 6, and then Washington has 0.
Yeah,
so obviously, I mean, he deserved Coach of the Year. I mean, Saban's done a great job coaching this year, but with Washington's roster and obviously.
And the teams they played.
The ones they made undefeated. Yeah. I mean, I can't
beat Oregon twice.
Yeah. It's so hard. That's probably the hardest thing to do in a sport like college football, in a sport where they don't play a ton of games in a season. To beat a team 2 times in one season, I mean, that's really hard to do, and they did it. And they did it pretty resounding in that Pac-12 championship game. So
Yeah, and I'll go to running backs, ranking the running backs. I think when thinking about it, I think Corum's obviously the best in that group, but after him, I'd probably go Brooks and then Johnson. I think those two are really close. I think Brooks has been really solid
Brooks
this year.
isn't playing.
Oh, Brooks isn't playing?
Brooks
Nah.
ACL there. He's done.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's
okay.
CJ Baxter. Yeah.
Oh, so maybe in that light. So of available players, I'll go Corum, Johnson, Jace, and then Baxter.
Well, I love Jace. But I do not. I would much rather have Jamarian or Roydell playing than Jace, just from what I've seen. I think Jace does a lot for the offense, but I just like Roydell's running style and Jamarian's running style a lot better than Jace. So I personally think Roydell should be the guy that we go with a lot in this game. He's the guy that I like to see out on the field more than anyone else. But yeah, I'd go like you said, Blake Corum / Donovan Edwards, Dylan Johnson, Jace McClellan / Roydell Williams, and then CJ Baxter. And CJ Baxter's a freshman, but if they had Jonathan Brooks would be at number 2 because he's a dog.
That's the same exact pick I got, son. That's the same. I'm the exact same with you. But let's go to Roydell. I like Roydell a lot too. I like Jace too. Don't get me wrong, but Roydell has been showing me these last couple of games, man. That dude got that dog in him, man. He got that dog in him.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of Alabama fans thought Roydell would like kind of take a specialty role at the beginning of the season, and really Jam would be the running back too. But I mean, Roydell's had some really big games. That USF game, really, he was the one that made that a 2-score game. Like, you know, his big runs there. He's got 56 less carries, but he's only got 1 less touchdown. Obviously, Jason only has 6, and Miller is really up those rushing touchdowns for the team this year. But yeah, I mean, personally, I really like Jace. I think he's done a really good job. I think he can make those. I think he has some good runs. I don't think really anyone on the team has had those long breakaway 67-yarders this year. I think that's what this team's lacking. But I'm a lot higher on Jace, I think, than Sutton. I think his health may win some more carries for Roydell and Jam, depending on what he can handle in that game.
I just love how Roydell, to me, and it's not that Jace doesn't do it. I just feel like Roydell and Jam are much more effective at putting their head down and getting that extra yard or two.
Yeah.
I've seen too many 2-yard carries from Jace this year, or 1-yard carries. I like it when Roydell puts his head down and gets that extra 3 or 4 yards. And Jamarian, I was surprised at how fast he was. In the Chattanooga game, and I know it was against Chattanooga, he hit like kind of a run where he hit the corner. It was an outside carry. Dude, that dude can move. He looks weird when he runs, but he can move, and he's got a big body too, so he can hit you up the middle as well. But yeah, Roydell, I liked him a lot going into the year. I thought he kind of would take a specialty role on 3rd down, like Josh said. But he's proved a lot of Alabama fans wrong, and he's kind of, to me, should be the bell cow of the offense.
I was asked off camera about our running back room. They were like, how do you feel about not having a 1,000-yard rusher? I said, honestly, the way we're using our running backs, I'm cool with not having 1,000-yard running backs because the way our offense is working now, everybody's eating. Everybody's coming out there with fresh legs and contributing to the game. So I'll take that. Listen, I love to have 1,000-yard running backs, but I will take that any day. To have multiple guys come in and contribute to the game.
Jace is only 197 yards away. Do you think there's any chance he gets it in 2 games?
I don't.
I'm going to go bold and say he does. I think he's going to have a big run.
Jace got 100 yards rushing in the next 2 games. I'd be surprised if he had 100 yards rushing. I really would.
I think he may get that tally. I don't think he'll get 10 touchdowns because he need 4 more. But
I was saying Milroe takes a lot of the carries away from these running backs too. So
yeah, he's got second most on the team.
I mean, if
obviously sacks are factored in.
If Ty Simpson was the quarterback, I mean, I think Jace is an 1,000-yard rusher, maybe even Roydell. So that's just how much Milroe impacts the running game.
Okay. I like that. That was a great discussion. I like that. So, what I want to move on to, Michigan offensive line is real good. How do y'all think our defensive line fares compete against their offensive line?
Well, have they seen anyone named Dallas Turner or Chris Braswell all year?
That's the point I was about to make.
No, they have not. So I think that Alabama's got one of the best edge passing attacks on defense with Braswell and Dallas. They haven't seen anyone like that all year.
Nah.
And especially Dallas. I mean, dude's been phenomenal all season. So I expect a couple of sacks in this game. I expect some pressures. I expect some hurries, some hits maybe on McCarthy. But they're going to get theirs. They're running the ball up the middle with Corum. They're going to have some success there. Tim Keenan's been good all season. Damon Payne's has filled in nice too. But they're going to have some really good runs because that's what their trademark is. They're going to have some. But when they need to sustain a drive, Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell kind of can come out of nowhere and make a hit, force a fumble, something, maybe force a tip pass that gets intercepted. I mean, that's just something Alabama has on their defensive line that 150 other college football teams would love. And I'd love to hear what Josh has to say about this.
I'm going to make a bold take on this. I think Alabama is going to be so committed to the run that I think Michigan may have a better day over the air. I don't think it's going to be the best day over the air. Like McCarthy, I don't know if he has a 300-yard game this year, but I think Alabama is going to commit to the run almost like in 2015 against Leonard Fournette. Like they're going to make Michigan beat them through the air. Obviously, I think Corum will get his. And, he'll probably find the end zone maybe once or twice, like he's been finding it. But I think Alabama is really going to go all effort in, balls to the wall with it. When I look at that matchup, I really like it. I think we, two of the best edge rushers in the country. I mean, Braswell's been phenomenal, borderline first-round pick. I think it'll be early second round. But, Dallas has been one of the best edges in the country probably for the last 3 years. Didn't have a great sophomore year, but his freshman year was phenomenal. This year he's been elite again, really the main guy on that defense, really the tone setter, I think, of the whole team. But, yeah, I like that. And then the defensive line, Justin Eboigbe's having an all-time season for a defensive lineman. His pass rushing ability is phenomenal. For a guy that struggled to get sacks for his first 3 years and then started off good as a senior before his injury, and now as a really grad student and a redshirt senior, he has been phenomenal. One of the best defensive line in the country. I don't know how some teams left him off all SEC first team because I think he's been by far the best defensive lineman. Jaheim Otis has got better with the season. Really got better. He struggled with injuries early on, and he's really got better, made some big plays late down the line. Has a few penalties that could get corrected. Tim Smith started off the season real well, kind of cooled down, but he's been real good. And then also, Tim Keenan's probably been one of the more consistent guys on the defense, just how, impactful he's been in the run game. So I like how I think we'll probably give them as much of a fight from any defensive line unit and pass rushing group as any team they've seen all season.
And I wanted to add something real quick too before you talk, Nick, but what did we do against Georgia? I know Saban talked a little bit about it on the SEC Network postgame show from the SEC championship game. He talked a lot about how we kind of had a plan going into the game where we were going to run a lot of different looks up front. And then he kind of just said after the first drive when they scored, he said, screw it. We're going to rush 4 guys the whole game. And that's what we're going to do. And rushing 4 guys got home 2 or 3 times. They hurried Carson Beck a lot. So I think it's going to be that exact same game plan. They're going to rush 4. They're going to have 2 linebackers up the middle. They're pretty much going to dare you to they will fill the box at times. Yeah. But they're going to keep everything in front of them the whole game. They're not going to give up a huge play unless it's a huge play in the run game, but I do not see that really happening in this game. Michigan doesn't really have any guys that can blow by you besides Roman Wilson, but I'm sure there'll be a safety dedicated to his side of the field, whichever side he's on. So I see Alabama getting home a few times in this game, and I see him stopping the run fairly well in the game too. So, I guess I maybe am a little bit more confident than Josh is, but yeah, I think it's a very similar defensive game plan to the Georgia game.
And see, this goes into that's what Josh said. He thinks McCarthy is going to have a more of a day in the air, and this is where I think Chris Braswell and Dallas Turner is going to be their presence are going to be felt because If we can stop the run, take the run away from them, like we will probably want to do, I think this is when Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell is going to play in effect. These are two edge rushers. I don't think they have seen nothing like this before. This season, whatever. This is going to be different for them. And if they go to the air, that's going to be the big thing for us. Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell, they go to the air. But go back to what you were saying. After that first drive, Coach Saban got the coaches together and be like, "Look, I know we had a plan, but let's scratch it. We're gonna rush 4. We're gonna get to the quarterback with 4, and we're gonna stop big plays in the background." And I think that's what we do. I think our guys, our front 4 is very capable of doing this. Being able to slow the run down and get to the quarterback, do whatever they need to do. But let's talk about Justin and Boydby. How much do y'all think his draft stock has improved after this season?
It's got to be a lot, in my opinion. I haven't seen him in many 3-round drafts. I think he should. I think he's a 3rd, 4th round pick. Obviously, his age is up there, but
Yeah.
I mean, golly, he has 59 tackles this year, which is, really, really good for a defensive lineman.
Defensive lineman, yeah.
He's been really, really, really active. He's really shown he can really pass rush at an elite level, get off blocks. If Christian Barmore was a 2nd round pick, I don't think a Boydby should be really any lower than a 3rd. I'd be really disappointed if he falls beyond the 3rd round. I can understand with injuries, but I think he's been pretty healthy this whole season, and he's really played at an elite level.
Yeah, I think it's this season's really helped him tremendously. I really do. I thought coming into this season he'd have a good year. I thought going into last year he'd be really good. Had the injury. Him and Byron Young last year, by the way, would have been a nasty duo. But yeah, he's been everything and more. I think he's the best defensive lineman in the SEC this year. And then I think we also have the best 2 edge rushers in the SEC. Yeah. So we're dominating the front 7 this year. We already know what Deontay Lawson can do. We know what Jihad and Tresman have kind of brought there. And then Tim Keenan, one of the big surprises. When we go back at the end of the season and look at our rankings, I don't think any 3 of us had him, maybe even in the top 50. So,
I had him 61st.
Yeah, I had him in the 60s as well. So what a surprise he's been. And me and Josh were talking a little bit a few weeks ago. We were kind of looking ahead to 2024. This defensive line's going nowhere. I'm so confident next year that our 2 deep at defensive line. We can talk about this, I'm sure, in the off season because we'll have not a lot to talk about. So we'll have to talk about this, but I'm really excited about that defensive line group in the future at Alabama. And this year, when we just talk about the present, guys like Justin Aboigbe and Tim Keenan and Jaheim Otis, you can't really ask for much better around college football.
I agree. So, tight end play from both teams. And I see it basically kind of the same because they're going to use their tight ends to block. We're going to use our tight ends to block. If we can hit them open in some pass plays, we're going to hit them open. We're going to hit them in pass plays. They do the same thing. Like this Michigan team really I'm going to say that the Alabama of the Big Ten. Probably don't say much, but we're similar. We're not going to try to go out here and do nothing fancy or nothing like that. But how do you like the tight end play from Michigan?
It's a large part of their offense. Their 2 guys, Loveland and Barner, they have over 800 combined receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. As good as Amari Knobloch's been this year, I think he's been obviously one of the most improved players on the team and one of our best options. Him and Dupree only have a combined 500, and Loveland by himself has 572. So they feature a tight end way more. Loveland's got 40 receptions. He's 2nd on their team, where Bond's 2nd on our team with 44. So it really shows how often they use him and use him to get those, use it to sustain drives. And he's also got 4 touchdowns too. So we'll have to be looking, make sure we're on our P's and Q's there, probably give them the edge there too. Obviously, because we haven't seen much out of Dupree, but I think in the year or so, Alabama's tight ends will be one of the best units on the offense.
And do you think this is a game where we can see more of our tight ends being featured in the past game?
Well, I think Dupree will get up the field because you're going to have to attack the middle of the field in games like these. So, yeah, I think Dupree will get used more in this game. And we've seen him get used more towards the end of the season, I think, a little bit. We saw him a good bit. We saw the tight ends used a good bit against Kentucky. Nyblack really hasn't been featured as much towards the end of the year. But Dupree, I think, has been as the season's gone on. And then Robbie Oots is just one of my favorite players on this year's team, an unsung hero in the game. One of my favorite players on the team, in honesty. I mean, he's so unselfish. But I think his ability to be an extra blocker on the field, and we've seen him in the past game play well before. So maybe sneak Robbie Oots out a couple of times in this game and give him some catches. I don't hate that idea at all, and especially having him on the field to block this really physical Michigan front. I think that comparison between Alabama and Michigan isn't a bad one at all. They're probably the most physical team in the Big Ten. We're the most physical team in the SEC. So I think this is an integral game for Robbie Oots. I think that's the guy you really look at to provide an extra blocker in the run game, to give Milroe some extra time in the pocket, and then maybe even sneak out of the pocket or out of the block a couple of times and catch a short pass and take it for a little bit of a gain. Who knows on third down how big that can be. Robbie Oots is a guy I look at that could have a big Rose Bowl.
I like Robbie Oots a lot. He gonna be a big deal in the NFL. I'm not saying a high draft pick, but he's gonna be a big deal in the NFL. The way they use tight ends and like we see the dude at San Fran. I see him playing that type of role for somebody.
Kyle
Tech or something like that.
Yes.
He'll be a fullback in the NFL. He's got future as a fullback.
One of these smart offensive guys like Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan.
Yep.
Someone like that is gonna look at Alabama tape this year and say, I can get this guy in the 6th or 7th round. And they're going to
he'll be saying he ain't leaving this year, I don't think. Maybe a year or two.
Well, whenever he leaves, 6th or 7th round pick. I mean, and then he's just going to be a stay on an offense in the NFL. Somebody's going to pick him up. Sirianni, McDaniel, one of those guys will. I really think he's invaluable asset to Alabama's offense this year. I mean, when you go back and watch tape, he stood out several times, for me at least.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as tight ends though, I really do like what Michigan does with their tight ends, man. I like what they do with the tight ends, but as far as that, just how we attack Georgia, I think this is gonna be something similar. We basically lock down. We lock down on that in the SEC championship game. Michigan is not Georgia because they're in the playoffs, but I believe they have some capable traits, some of the same traits or whatever. But I really like Michigan tight ends. I like Michigan tight ends a lot. I ain't gonna let me lie to you. I like them tight ends a lot. But the defensive back, the secondary play for Michigan versus Alabama. Of course, it ain't even biased. It's like if I was a freaking Wisconsin fan, I'd probably like Alabama defensive backs over Michigan defensive.
I think Michigan fans would like ours more.
Yeah, like I'm just saying, like I think we have the advantage there. But how do y'all feel about Michigan secondary?
I think they're a good secondary, and they really put together a good game against. When I went back and watched Ohio State, me and Josh watched them. We were watching on TV when it happened before the Iron Bowl. But Marvin Harrison Jr. gonna get his. Well, we've talked about it a lot, but they kind of shut down the rest of those guys in that game. Obviously, weren't playing against a great quarterback in Kyle McCord, but they made something happen. They can create takeaways. They've done that all season.
Yep.
You've got to worry about that, especially with a guy like Milroe. And he hasn't turned the ball over towards the end of the season, but has been prone when he gets confused, can make a bad pass or two. So they're really going to have to rely on maybe making Milroe confused in the backfield and then throw an off-target pass or throw it right into the hands of a Michigan DB. That's where they're going to live for situations like that. So they're very turnover heavy, reliable defense. So I like their DBs, but like Josh said, even Michigan fans I think would agree that Alabama's got their defensive back room in this game.
Yeah. Go ahead, Zach. I'm sorry.
They just force a lot more turnovers than we do.
Yeah,
and that's no fault to our DBs. Because no one has a pick on the year. But it's not saying he's not the best cornerback in the country, because I think he is, and without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, it's one of the best cornerback duos probably of recent history. Him and Terrian, two guys that are going to be drafted in the first round. And Alabama, sure, they do give up more passing yards per game, about 30 yards more. But I don't think Michigan's seeing. I mean, they saw the Ohio States of the world, but they're not seeing the SEC offenses, the SEC type passing quarterbacks that Alabama's seen this year. They haven't seen a Jaden Daniels type guy that's really going to raise those numbers up. If Alabama doesn't play Jaden Daniels, we're probably averaging 30 less passing yards a game just because of what he did. But yeah, I don't think stats tell the whole picture there. When you look at I mean, Khalil McIntyre, great. I mean, Jalen Key's been solid this year. I think Malachi's been probably better in run support, which is really good for a star.
Yeah.
He's had some lapses this year, but his veteran presence is really important for that Alabama offense. He's really the leader of that secondary, gets everyone in communication. And then obviously Caleb Downs, the leading tackler. I think most people would have thought Lawson would have led the teams in tackles at the start of the season, but it's been Caleb Downs, and it's really not even close by the margin he has. He's 34 more than Jihad, who's in second place, and he's got 64 solo tackles. He's one of the most sure-handed tacklers probably on the whole team. I'd say him and Terrian are two of our best tacklers, and their safeties. I mean, in DBs, Terrian's a former safety. That's what got in my head. But yeah, really like how we match up. I mean, hopefully Key's closer to 100% than he was against Georgia. Him and Lawson both looked a little banged up, and they were like they weren't at full speed. Same with the Iron Bowl. So hopefully this month has been really valuable to get everyone back in full health, because I think our DBs they made a lot of big plays this year. Downs, Terrian notably. Keys made an interception earlier in the season. Could have had another one in the Iron Bowl if Terrian didn't seal it. But yeah, I prefer our DBs. I think it's arguably I'd say it's probably our second strongest position group beside outside linebackers on the whole team.
Yeah. Like I said, I like our secondary more. But when you look at Michigan's secondary, they got one dude with 5 interceptions, another dude with 2. I think another guy might have 2. So they cause turnovers. Their defense caused turnovers. And go back to what we said about Jalen Hurts.
They have 4 more interceptions than us.
How much?
They have 4 more interceptions than us. They have 16. We have 12. Yeah.
Okay. But like we said, we haven't seen it as much as lately. But Jalen Hurts, not Hurts, but Miro, he gotta protect the ball in this game, because we can't give them any opportunities, because this is gonna be key to this game, in my opinion. In the end, who can capitalize off of who mistakes? So it's best for both teams to try to play mistake-free football, but it's football. Somebody's gonna make a mistake, but whoever can capitalize off this game will benefit more in the end, I feel like.
Well, I also believe, the Alabama-Georgia game, those were there was only 1 turnover. So they were very disciplined teams. And I think both of these teams are very disciplined. So I wouldn't be surprised to only see 1 turnover, or maybe even no turnovers in this game, like it was in the Georgia-Alabama game. But if there is a turnover, whoever turned the ball over, it's not going to look good for them. It's not going to fare well for them.
Yeah.
Especially if the other team can take advantage of that turnover and score off of it, and you're just adding extra points on the board that shouldn't have been there in the first place. So in Alabama, that was a big – and Alabama only scored a field goal on that fumble. It fired me up that we were within the 10-yard line. We couldn't put the ball in the end zone. But, 3 points was the end of that game. What stood out from the end of that game, we won 27-24. And they missed a field goal. So ended up being what saved the game for Alabama was the field goal that they had in the red zone after that fumble from Georgia. So something like that could happen again in this game for Michigan or for Alabama.
Yeah.
It can make the whole difference.
Yeah, before we move on, I feel bad that I even forgot about him, but the performance Trey Amos had against Georgia, I think arguably the MVP of that defense, arguably the game, the way he came and filled in such an important role for Kool-Aid, who's been the most locked down corner. To fill in for him, probably if he had had a pick there, I think I could give it to him. It'd been him or Milrow. But like Amos, they went straight at him with Bowers, who's arguably one of the best tight ends of
I
the
think
century. Like just the way he's unreal. And they went straight at him, and and Amos had none of that. So yeah, Amos is a key one. He can play corner, flex tearing out to star.
Yeah.
The versatility of this group's really good, and that's been something that's been available all season.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what I like about both teams in this game. It's old school football, and what I mean by that, they're not really stressing it on offense. Of course, you want to make things happen on offense, but they're really both teams are really relying more on defensive play. That's why this game is going to be so awesome to watch, because you're going to see two legendary teams. One team, Michigan, has the most wins in college football. Alabama with the most national championships in football. And in the end, this is gonna be a slugfest, the clash of the Titans. I feel like, because both teams are pride. They're both really relying on defensive play, and let's make it happen on offense when we can. Let's take advantage of opportunities on offense. So in the end, man, I think this is gonna be a good game. But I want to hear, starting with you, son, your score predictions.
Man, I've gone back and forth with this so much, but I do believe, like I said earlier, this is a game where Alabama does not blow Michigan out, but Alabama's in control of this game the whole time. I think Alabama wins the turnover battle. I think Alabama wins on third down. I think Alabama wins this game by 10. Now, that's kind of close because it's a close margin, but I think Alabama, like I said, is in control from the get-go. We've had some games this year where I felt like we were in control from the get-go and we didn't win, but by 6 or 10, So the second half against Tennessee, we were in control of that whole second half, and we were down at halftime too. And I think we ended up winning by 6. So I think it's one of those type of games. I'm going to say Alabama 31, Michigan 21. That's my final score.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, for me, I've been pretty consistent with mine. I think since right after the SEC championship game, when I think it's semifinal games, I think it close games, because most games, both teams have a month to prepare for. Usually Alabama's the 1, or Alabama's the 4 going against the 1. So when Alabama's the 4, they're arguably the best team in the country anyway. So it's two really good teams. Only one of those games has really been a blowout that we played in. And the several times we played a semifinal, and that was Michigan State in 2015. That was 38-0. But my final score prediction is very similar to previous years. 2016 was 24-7 over Washington. 2020 was 31-14 over Notre Dame, and 2021 was 27-6 over Cincinnati. I don't think Alabama's going to score 40. I don't think they're going to score over 30. I don't think Michigan's going to score a lot either. I think it's going to be 27-14 Alabama. I think it will, like Sutton said, I think it'll be a close game for most of the game. Alabama may get a late touchdown to push it to double digits. But, yeah, I'm going with Alabama 27-14. I think we may see a better game at night, too. I mean, this game will be competitive and physical, but if you want a high-scoring game, I'd look to that 7 o'clock game later on in the night.
Yeah. My score prediction is higher than y'all's, but it's Alabama 31-27. That's what I got. That's what I came up with. If I was a betting man and everybody else out there, whoever bets, I would definitely go whatever the under is. Was it 45 or something like that? I'm not sure, but I definitely would go under, because I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game at all. I don't think Alabama just blows Michigan out. I think Michigan is going to come in. First time they got to the playoffs, they was happy to be there. Second time, I think they was probably over-prepared mentally, and they did too much. They did too much that week prior, and they underestimated TCU a little bit. This time, I actually think Michigan going to come into this game more focused, more willing to do the things, play it more safe or whatever, but be very cautious of what they're doing. And I think Michigan can make this really a game in the end. But I think my Alabama Crimson Tide is just based off what they have faced this year, what they have went through this year, all the naysayers, everybody linking up now this year. I think that's going to pull through this year. I think that's what gets us through the season.
Yeah, over-under is 46.5, and obviously with my score prediction, I'm taking the under.
I'm taking
forgot.
I'm
Yeah.
taking it.
Yeah, I know my score. I would definitely say because I suck at score predictions. I tell anybody that I suck at score predictions.
Well,
So
I'll
I would
say
definitely say the under though.
I think the national championship game was played 2 weeks ago in Atlanta. I think those are the two best teams in the country. I think it's undoubtedly Alabama and Georgia. And we won't even, I'm sure we don't have time to get into this but the top 4 teams in the country to me were Alabama, Georgia, Washington, and Texas. I actually don't believe Michigan's a top 4 team in the country. I would have them at 5. Now that could come to bite me in the butt if Michigan beats Alabama, but I think Georgia's a top 5 team. I really do think they're a top 5 team or top 4 team. Excuse me.
What about Florida State, man? Florida State.
I think right now or at the end of the year, I think like 6 teams in the SEC would have beat Florida State. Missouri would have beat them. Ole Miss would have beat them. Texas A&M may even beat them. I don't know.
I'm joking. Yeah, I know. I think they'd win to Oregon. I think you'd go. So I think Ole Miss would beat them.
Yeah, LSU would beat them. Missouri would beat them.
Yeah, did you see Tate Rodemaker enter the portal? Like who's their quarterback next year?
Brock Glenn versus Georgia. Georgia is going to beat them 42-0. It's going to be a blood spill.
Hey, I will say I don't know how many Georgia players have actually opted out. I know a bunch of them are in the portal though. Several of them going to Kentucky.
Going to kill them.
I do have Georgia winning by a bunch though. That game. But now Michigan is favored by 2 now. They have this. I think the highest they've been favored by since the lines came out. It was starting at 1.5, went down to 1. Now it's
love it. I love it. I love it.
Hey, why do we even show up? I mean, like, why is Alabama even showing up? You know. What about the Texas game? What's your score prediction?
Texas game? Oh my God! Whew.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go 42-38 Washington.
I was actually going to do the same thing. No, but Texas. I'm doing the same score, but Texas.
Okay.
And
Texas.
Me, I've been big on Washington all season. I just think I know Texas secondary is sus. I know Michael Penix slings the rock. I know it. I just think Texas defensive line gonna end up out physical in them and making Michael Penix run around for his life.
Hey,
Oregon,
Texas is smart.
About Oregon, and they failed twice.
Hey, one thing to watch out. I mean, Malik Murphy's not going to be there. If something happens to Ewers, it's going to be Arch.
If Ewers bend his thumbnail back the wrong way, Ewers is going to sit down.
Could the legend of Arch Manning be born?
Archmania.
Oh man,
Arch Manning's first
national
championship game.
The Texas fans might
the cold excuses. The cold excuses. No.
Look, the Texas fans might want the legend of Arch Manning to start that game, but Sarkisian is a smart guy. He was third string for a reason. I don't think Sarkisian wants that to happen.
Yeah, it's weird. Eric just mentioned something. It's always the game other than Alabama. And a lot of these semifinal games have been some of the best games I've ever seen. If you think, Georgia, Oklahoma in 2017, one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. Georgia, Ohio State last year, I thought was the national championship game.
Yeah.
If Marv doesn't get hurt there, I think Ohio State's your national champion. That was a phenomenal game, one of the best games I've ever watched. Obviously, it hurt, but our game versus Ohio State was a good game. It was a competitive game.
Clemson, Ohio State in 2020 was a great game. The 2019 Clemson, Ohio State, the 2 years they had Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence going at it, they were great games.
And then Burrow made everyone else look stupid after. It was crazy. That was.
Hey, I got a question up here. Is Texas D-line better than Oregon D-line?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. But, hey, we've been saying all year that Washington's going to lose to somebody, and they haven't. And I just believe they're going to continue to prove people wrong until they play Alabama.
And it's so funny because I'm the guy that's been big on Washington the whole year. I've been big on Washington.
Stick with them, man. Stick with them.
Hey, I just think Texas I just think the trench play going taking effect this game. And Texas defensive line, hey, they good to me, man.
Dude, I'm looking at the schedule for that day before we play. These 12 o'clock games aren't good. It's Liberty, Oregon, and Iowa, Tennessee. Golly, I wish we get some better games before us.
Iowa, Tennessee. If I would be surprised if
Nico's playing. No, that was a fake report. Never mind.
I'd be surprised if like 20 people watch that game. That is going to be the ugliest college football game of all time. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly.
42-16. Oh, I don't know if I'd want that.
That is wild.
Too high.
That's wild.
I'd love to win 42-16, but I don't know how that'd affect us. I'd rather face some more adversity and get us hyped for a big game against Texas. Keep us motivated.
I like it, Eric D. I like it.
Hey, I'm gonna say because as Bama fans, we always say, "I just want to see a good game," but we want to see blowouts.
No, it's good. It's good for the memory. Like, I mean, I was talking to Simon earlier today, and we were ranking, the games we've been to. So SEC, Iron Bowl, then obviously Texas. Not Texas. Texas is at the very bottom.
Yeah,
very bottom. Texas. But games we've been to, LSU and Tennessee, and like. Obviously, that Tennessee first half was one of the worst first half I had encountered as an Alabama fan, but the comeback was unreal. And you're going to remember those games more than you remember some of those Tua games where Tua just went off like crazy back then. But, yeah, I'd much – for my sanity, I mean, the Iron Bowl, I was about to lose my mind.
Oh, yeah.
In that fourth quarter, I was losing my mind. But,
terrible. But I can firsthand witness say Josh was a train wreck in the end of that game. I can say that.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you the Iron Bowl. So my oldest son, he was in the back playing the game or whatever. Then he came up, he was like, "Oh crap, we losing?" Because he thought I was gonna be going crazy or something. But the whole time I'm just sitting there, time on the clock, anything can happen. Time on the clock, anything can happen. Ball goes up in the air and I lose my mind. That's when I lost my mind. I was like, "Oh, let's go." But I was the same way. I'm like, for most of these games this year, I just been chilling, just watching the outcome play out, because I'm a firm believer. If we close, we got time on the clock. Anything can happen, man. So I stopped getting so wound up. Now my heart is pounding, but on the outside, I'm calm. But that Auburn game, my son, he was so surprised to see we was losing just because I was so calm. But when they caught that pass, I lost all of it. I lost every sense I had, sense I had. And something that is a show idea that y'all need to do. Rate the games and talk about the games that y'all been to. That's a good idea to me.
Yeah, we kind of did it. I think he had a different one. I think he had Georgia at 1. I think I put Tennessee at 1. Just the whole. No, I had LSU. I had LSU at 1. I think SEC at 2. Iron Bowl at 3.
The loudest I've ever heard Bryant Denny was Tennessee this year. I mean, it was
Jihad. The Jihad.
When Jihad fumble recovery and scored a touchdown.
And they played Dixieland Dwight right after. I can't. I had chills running up my whole arm.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you this though. It's kind of embarrassing. I almost had some joyful tears at the end of that SEC championship game. I mean, they were almost rolling down because I mean the whirlwind carousel that this team's gone on this year has just been unreal, and it was just resonating with me. Like, hey, we could be in the playoff. So, and then I watched the playoff show at McAllister's the next day on my phone, and I watched it on my phone, and the chef in the background had it like 2 seconds before me. He started screaming like in the back at McAllister's like 2 seconds before it came up on my phone. We were all
Chronicles of YouTube TV.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Hey, so when Miro after the SEC championship, when he was talking to Marty, I wanted to cry with him because I felt everything.
Oh yeah,
I wanted to cry so bad.
Shut up, Josh. You did not feel anything. Me and Dadrian felt all. We were at the beginning.
Hey, for us, that was like watching our baby grow up. That was like watching our son grow up to be a man. And we know he went through. We know what all he went through. Like after that spring game, people did not want Miro on their team. People did not want Miro. Coming into the fall, still going through everything. Everybody was still didn't want Miro. Even when the season go through, people did not want Miro. and he.
Hey, ask Josh where he ranked Ty Simpson on his beginning of the year.
It was like 22, and I had Milrow slightly below. It was not. I didn't have a quarterback in the top. I didn't have a quarterback in the top. You can go back and look at
Josh's brother was a big Ty Simpson guy, and he lost a bet to me on that. So.
Oh yeah. No. But
what's funny to me though is we started a lacrosse player the third game of the season.
Yes, I never knew he played lacrosse.
Did not get a start this year. Like of those two, I thought Ty would definitely be the one that got the start, not Buckner. But oh man.
But I will say this. I think Ty is ready now.
Yeah, I do too. I do not think Ty's going to transfer. I for some reason think he's going to stay. But if he goes somewhere, I think he'll have a pretty good career.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know necessarily. I think the jury's still out because he hasn't played a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback, but I think he does have the potential to be.
Hey, a big factor here. How crazy no one knows, obviously, unless you're there. How good has Julian Sayin been in practice? Because if he's already better than Holstein right now against college competition, I know he said, because he talked with Aaron Suttles for the Alabama show on signing day, and he said throwing against Kool-Aid and Terrian was real, real tough and an adjustment for him. But if he's already there, asserting himself over guys on scholarship that have been there for a year now, woo, that could play a factor. But I mean, I'd love to see him come back. I remember Ty's recruitment and him saying Mac was a big inspiration to him, sticking his way out, sticking through things. And obviously the portal's changed all that now where they can go get a quarterback and jump you. But I mean, that's the biggest thing. If be up in arms, obviously Milrow's coming back next year, barring a crazy playoff run. But yeah.
And see, to me,
Ty's ready to play anywhere else. I think some of those positions are getting left open. People are taking those spots like Malik Murphy's at Duke now.
Yeah.
Those spots are being taken up. I mean, I don't think most people would want it, but I think a good spot for Ty eventually if he decides to transfer. I want him back because I think he'd be a great backup for us next year. But I think Vandy, he could do something at Vandy. Obviously, that being his own state. I don't think he should be relegated to somewhere like UT Martin, as people have mentioned all season. But yeah, I want Ty to stay. I really.
And see, speaking of transport portal and this stuff right now, this is why I feel like they need to push the portal back because I think this is the main reason why Malik Murphy is in the portal because he realized all the good teams were getting taken up. Like he was like, I need to go somewhere and land somewhere for a good opportunity for me, and I just thought we need to. Honestly, my honest opinion, I like early signing day. I say move it back. I say move it back to February and push the portal back. That's me though.
But it's weird when you think about the school calendar because people want to be able to transfer their school and be there in the spring and go to school there and want to be there for spring practice. That's what they want to do if they are transferring. So it makes sense in those cases. And obviously, it hurts with us because we've had a few guys in the portal. Jacory, obviously, we haven't really had a big contributor leave yet this season. So I really think it should get pushed back, but it's real unfortunate timing with how school will be coming around in the next couple of weeks, and these guys either have to make a big decision on their life so quickly in such a short time frame.
Hey, son, plug your show, man.
He's saying plug your show with Jake.
Oh, sorry. I didn't understand what you were saying.
My bad.
Oh, yeah. No, Just Saying podcast. We do it. We're now doing it once a week because it's kind of,
I see y'all made that announcement the other day.
Yeah. So once a week, he's down bad with the Georgia Bulldogs. They're all down bad right now. We love to see it. If you want to go see, if you're an Alabama fan, you want to go see a funny show. Episode 32, I believe, is the one where we review the Alabama Georgia game. So go check that one out. But I think we're gonna be doing one later this week. But the Just Saying podcast, you can find it on YouTube and Apple Podcasts.
I like to try to link up with him to talk Georgia football with him, man.
He might like that. I don't know. Right now is such a good time. I don't know. He's not even going to the Orange Bowl. So
oh wow.
Yeah, so yeah, he's down bad, but he'll bounce back, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get somebody to talk Georgia recruit talk about the recruiting class they got, man.
He certainly knows. And I'm not gonna lie, I've learned a lot about Georgia this year, doing the show with him. So
yeah. But yeah, man. Tomorrow, guys, I'm gonna be on this guy's race. This guy name on the board. I'm gonna be on his show tomorrow. He's a Michigan guy. Actually, I did a video Saturday talking about Michigan is overrated because the number 2 defense has played a lot of so badly ranked offenses, and I have woken up the Michigan fan base that was actually attacking me, getting personal with me. So sensitive, but it's all good though. But he reached out to me. He a Michigan guy. He reached out to me. So tomorrow we're gonna do a show at 5:00 Eastern time on his show tomorrow. We're gonna talk about the Rose Bowl. So if y'all want to see me on that, y'all go subscribe to this dude and look out for his show, man. Look out for his show.
Hey, it was a privilege being on here, man. Thanks.
Man, I love when I have y'all on here, man. I was telling your mom, I didn't want to really bother y'all during the season because I felt I was like busy, and I think y'all was like busy with schoolwork, man.
Oh, at the end of the year, golly, it got rough.
The year was terrible. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was like, I ain't want to interrupt y'all with my fools in this.
No, you're all good.
These 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or whatever. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But man, I appreciate y'all coming on all the time. If y'all got any show ideas, anything y'all want to do on this channel, y'all let me know and I'll make it happen. But we definitely got to revisit that list. We definitely got to.
We got some stuff we got to check off in the off season for sure.
Yeah, facts.
Yep. All right, appreciate it.
Hey, one more thing. Y'all be writing articles and stuff for people too, right?
Every now and again, yes, sir. Yeah.
All right.
I just had someone go out for Alabama. So if anyone subscribe, go subscribe anyway if you want to support Alabama athletics. Came on we really recapped the National Signing Day show with quotes from Caleb Odom, top tight end in the 2024 class, and then also the best quarterback in the 2024 class, Julian Sayin. So some really good quotes from them talking about how they've adjusted in their first weeks to bowl practice. And they just arrived in Los Angeles a couple hours ago for bowl prep. So not really bowl prep, bowl week. So they're going to experience that. But yeah, really good interviews there. The video's on the site too. But yeah, my article recently published yesterday on Christmas. So
okay.
All right.
Hey, one quick question. Josh, this is for you. Any words on Damani Jackson and Evan Stewart?
I haven't heard. I mean, I think there's more interest in Damani as of now, from what I've heard. I mean, obviously, Alabama fans would love a shiny new receiver, but I mean, that Damani interest was really strong in recruiting. I think it was a strong possibility on signing day 2 years ago. He ended up staying home with USC, but obviously, Alabama's got a lot of pull with modern day now. Obviously,
it's so funny that
Xavier Brown to sign, and obviously the Bryce connection. Since then, since Damani signed, Bryce has won a Heisman, but also, or Damani maybe 2022. I may be wrong, or is he 2021?
I think he's 21.
I think 21 too.
I think he's 21. I think he's they said he was a sophomore.
Sophomore, yeah.
So if he's 2021 in that time frame, no,
Bryce
he's been there since 2022 was his first. He committed.
Do we lose him?
But he still committed to USC. But yeah, Bryce is in the NFL now. And obviously Xavier Brown just recently signed with Alabama. So maybe. I also heard Michigan's in there, so maybe this game plays a big role. Maybe this game, winner takes Damani Jackson. But regardless,
he only has to drive 45 minutes up the road to go see it too.
And I've said this about this. I've said this about both groups, mainly the receivers. If we don't get everyone cert, we're fine. I think we got 7 guys next year that could really contribute, just like this year.
Yeah,
the emergence of probably Ryan Williams and Emmanuel Henderson in that group would be my prediction. And then obviously at cornerback, I'm confident that Kite could step up alongside Amos, and then maybe Des Ricks as well. And then obviously you got a loaded freshman class and also Jaleel Hurley in the mix as well. So I think we're good regardless. I mean, Saban, if Saban goes to the portal, it's to fix something immediate. And all those portal guys, I mean, I doubted a lot of them. I doubted Trez. I doubted Dupree. Doubted Key's thing. I was like, do we really need this? But they've all played important roles this year. None of them have been left in the hayside. They've all had big impacts. So, yeah. If Saban – I've learned to trust this Nick Saban guy after 17 years. So,
yeah. I was actually big on Marshall, though, man, because I remember Marshall out of high school, actually.
Yeah. I was a big Blackshire and I mean, obviously Jefferson was coming in. A lot of people expected a little more out of Jefferson this year, but also Jihad had played a little in the bowl and Sean Murphy. So I think a lot of people thought we were fine at linebacker, but Trez has really provided something valuable, and I think his experience was much needed for this group, especially with the injuries Austin faced this year. But, yeah.
Man, I appreciate y'all. Awesome show. Great show. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hey, let's go kick Michigan butt, man.
Let's do it. I'm excited to get out there. It's going to be fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll make sure I take some pictures and post it on socials.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So, everybody, roll tide.
Roll tide.